Yeah. Jamie, are we live?
We got a lot.
We're live.
Three claps happened. We're doing it.
All right.
So your jiu-jitsu journey, you grew up in Peru, and you started jiu-jitsu at some point.
Yes. So I grew up between Vancouver, Canada, and Lima, Peru. So back and forth.
Nice.
I think grade 2 was when I start remembering most things from my childhood, and that's when we moved to Peru around that age. I was always a skinny and not very tough kid, and my cousin in Canada, he's about my age. He was a wrestler. He was skinnier and smaller than me, but he was super tough because he did wrestling, and he got in he just knew how to defend himself, and he was always pushing me to learn how to fight. And I think the turning point, and I wasn't interested at all, and the turning point was my neighbor. We were kids. My neighbor kind of beat me up as a kid, and he was younger than me, and I didn't know what to do. And there's, at that age, certain expectation that the older kid's going to win.
Yeah.
So he was scared of me. That was a good thing. So he punched me and ran away, and I was like, oh, thank God he punched me and ran away, because I didn't know what to do. And around this time, my cousin was watching the UFCs, like VHS, like Blockbuster back then. And he was like, okay, if there's no wrestling in Peru, you need to learn Jiu Jitsu. And I didn't even know what that was, and I couldn't find anything. So I started with karate. I checked out Taekwondo. I did a bunch of stuff. I think before Jiu Jitsu, what I liked most was boxing. I thought that was really neat. And then one day, my friend calls me. He's like, the same kid that beat me up, we became best friends.
That happens.
Yeah. He calls me. He's like, hey, I know you're looking for Jiu Jitsu. There's this Brazilian guy at a gym, like a fitness center, doing Jiu Jitsu classes. Let's go check it out. So I went, and I see this small guy from Brazil with a brown belt. And I didn't know any better because I'd done karate, jiu-jitsu, aikido, all these things where wherever you go, the instructor has to be a black belt. You don't get brown belts teaching karate. So I was a bit skeptical. I was like, this guy's not even a black belt,
sure.
You know? And then I did his class, and I was hooked from then on. This was when I was 15 years old, 20 years ago today. Wow.
Do you remember what that first technique was?
Self-defense. So headlock defense. And so he did a little bit of self-defense, but there was rolling. And I had done a little bit of like informal grappling with my boxing coach, who was kind of doing MMA fights. And I just got beat up to a point where I was like, oh, this is exactly what I need to learn. And I guess a brown belt in jiu-jitsu is legit. I had no idea. This guy was a legit student under, not directly under Hoyler, but Gracie Maita. Mm-hmm. So he was representing Gracie Maita. I think Juquinha might be his professor's name. I don't remember. And I trained with him for about 6 months. And then we moved to Canada again. And then first thing I look for is jiu-jitsu. I found the jiu-jitsu club under Team Megaton, ran by a purple belt. So it wasn't even... and that's when that's where my training actually took off. Like a more formal jiu-jitsu, like martial arts gym. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's how it kind of started, is just self-defense. And it quickly turned away from self-defense to, the sport I really enjoy. And then I never thought about self-defense again. Right?
For a lot of people, rolling and getting your butt kicked is like, that's the trigger. You're like, okay, I got to learn how to not get my butt kicked here.
Yeah, because like I said, my cousin was a wrestler, so he taught me like a Nelson or something. Yeah. And that was enough to beat almost any kid then that didn't know how to formally grapple. Yeah. So I was in an all-boys school, and we were like fighting in recess, and I was beating everyone with one wrestling move that I learned from my cousin. Yeah. And then I go to jiu-jitsu gym where, like, I couldn't even get close to their back to get like a Nelson. So that was it. I had to learn that. And then many years later, I rolled with my cousin and I tapped him in a triangle. And then I got him into jiu-jitsu. So he got me into it before training. Then he left wrestling. He didn't follow that, but he could always beat me until that day. I think I was a blue belt the day we like played around in our living room. I tapped him out. He's like, "What have you learned? I need to know that." And now he actually lives off jiu-jitsu. He has a school in Vancouver, like
Nice.
a pretty big school. He took it to the next level. He moved to Brazil for 8 months. He trained at the Alliance headquarters in Sao Paulo. So he was training with all these guys every day for 8 months. And
Awesome.
now he has the Alliance. I don't know. It's
Affiliate?
affiliate in Vancouver.
What's it's called Alliance
Alliance?
Vancouver?
Yeah, he's 100% like
Yeah.
Alliance brand and team and everything. So
Nice.
So it's hilarious. Like the cousin that got me into jujitsu, the last time I rolled with him,
Was that Mikey? Or was it someone else?
Alberto. Yeah, last time I rolled with him, he was still a blue belt, and I think I had got my purple belt. And he caught me heel hook, and then other than that, he would just run away. He was like, "No, I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play."
it was training with my cousin was fun because it just meant I had someone to go with. But I was a blue belt, and very quickly he learned how to defend the triangle.
Yeah.
So very quickly I couldn't tap him out anymore. So I was a blue belt, he was a white belt, and he was a tough white belt. And it was just my goal is I have to stay a step ahead of him. And up to purple, I think we were purple belts together, and then I moved back to Peru, and he did his thing, and I did mine. But I was always a little bit more technical. He would out intense me. Like I couldn't keep up with him, but every once in a while I'd catch him in something, like whether it's a sweep or something. And he was always worried about those sneaky techniques.
Sure.
So sometimes I remember this one. I got a cramp in my leg, so he was trying to get his hooks in. He was behind me, and I was kind of sitting up like now, and I got a cramp in my toes, and I just stretched my leg out because I didn't want to tap for it. I usually just try to
fight through.
keep going and get beat up.
Yeah.
But he wasn't putting his hook in because he thought I was setting him up for some sneaky move. And that's kind of the he's like, "Oh, I thought you were setting something." No, I just had a cramp, man. Like you could have.
You're moving weird. I didn't like it. Didn't like it. I don't know what it was, but I don't like it. I know I don't like it.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that's
The fundamental mistrust of fighting, huh, Professor?
If you're winning in the psychological game, screw it,
so
right?
I had that on him. Like now it's not even close. Like I definitely at some point around purple belt, like knew I'm not gonna live off jiu-jitsu. Like a bunch of other stuff's gonna come first. So, I train it because I think it's the thing I've done the most in my life. Like I think it's the only thing that comes previous, like in terms of when I discovered it, that to my wife. I've been with my wife for a very long time. It's like since we met, but I was doing jiu-jitsu before that, and it's just something that it's turned. At some point, I thought I might be a fighter, or I might have a school, or I want to have a school. It's my therapy. I'm gonna go and sweat and get exhausted, and go home and just be a better husband because I was able to, leave
Something
that
to
all
be
on the
said
mat.
for not monetizing it and just keeping it a hobby.
Yeah. At some point, one of my coaches said, "I don't want to mix jiu-jitsu with money, or else if money's ever a problem, then jiu-jitsu becomes a problem with it."
Yeah.
And I went that route. I was like, okay, I always want to enjoy this, because if I don't enjoy jiu-jitsu, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
For as a sport, I don't like going to the gym. I don't like lifting weights, all that stuff. I need to be able to get exhausted, and I don't have the drive to lift weights until I can't lift anymore, or run until I can't run anymore. But I will roll until
someone's not choking me. I'm not. I'm not
exactly.
into it.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah. Well, someone's not pushing you.
Yeah, exactly. There has to be some sort of. If I rest, I'm getting beat up, and there is a little bit of ego. It's like, let's try to not get beat up, right?
Yeah.
So and that doesn't happen when I run. When I tried running, or I tried other stuff.
No, there's not a bear behind me. Like, whatever. Go ahead and walk. I'm good.
I like the little joke. Like, I hate running. That's why I learned how to fight.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, that makes perfect. That's. I'm gonna use that when I
Logic.
have terrible cardio now. So, I know how to fight. Shit. I should still work on my cardio. Yeah, it's that's funny. I was like, as you were saying that, I kind of like, oh man, I took completely the opposite path.
Yeah.
Where I was like, okay, I hate every other job. I hate everything else so much that like, no, I've got to do jiu-jitsu and I'll figure out the money thing. I'll make the money work. Like everything else is terrible.
You know, I've
Just jiu-jitsu.
I've thought about that a lot, and I still do every once in a while. Now that I'm teaching again, I think about that a lot. I'm like, I really enjoy teaching, but I want to. Well, I'm way too into my career, and I have a mortgage and 2 kids and a wife that doesn't work. So it's like right now it's work first, and I'll just keep training jiu-jitsu. But there was a point in my life, especially I think because we moved back to Peru, is the reason I didn't maybe join my cousin opening the school. Like if I would have been in Vancouver, maybe we would have done it together, and that was a plan as we were coming up. We were like, oh, that's what we're gonna do. But then I moved to Peru, started working for a bank and this and that, and yeah, he just it went really well for him, and I can't complain. I'm enjoying jiu-jitsu, but maybe when my kids don't depend on me anymore, if I can still roll, maybe I can roll more. Let's see.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Hey, you still get to roll, so whatever.
Thing is, teaching at least makes me go twice a week, right? I teach 2 times a week, and those are 2 days that I can't find an excuse to not go because I'm the teacher there, I'm the instructor. So that ties me down to jiu-jitsu at least twice a week. Whatever else happens, kids are crying, whatever happens, like, sorry, I have to go, I have a commitment. So that's awesome about
Is it
teaching. So,
Wednesday 6 a.m. that you added to supplement the comp class that you run?
Yes, it was Wednesday. I just, I look for a gap in your schedule, and I'm like, okay, what can I make work here? And that's how Saturday started.
Yeah.
And then I want to teach so much, but once a week is just not enough, right? So I'm like, okay, what other spot can I find here? And afternoons are hard because usually afternoon time is exactly like I'm off work. I have to start feeding, I have to help my
family
wife
stuff,
feed the kids, bathe them. And then it's just, I feel bad leaving the house at that time. That's like
family time's so important.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I found 6 a.m. 6 a.m. works well. At first, I wasn't so sure because I'm not sure I would get up for my 6 a.m. class, right? Like, so I really didn't want to go and have like a 1-person class. I wanted it to be similar to Saturdays. And we're at a point where it's bigger than Saturdays. I really didn't see that happening. But many weeks I have more students on a Wednesday at 6 a.m. than I do at a Saturday at 10 a.m., which is not what I expected, but awesome.
Oh, no, man. 6 a.m. is for dedicated people.
For years.
People are not going to miss their 6 a.m. class.
Yeah,
I'd start a 6 a.m. class. I mean, I wasn't there. But like, start a 6 a.m. class. It would average 0.8 students for a while, and then I cut it. And do that again, whatever, a year later, 2 years later. Nothing, like, couldn't make it stick. And then Dan started it, whatever it was.
And yeah, when I saw Dan was doing it twice a week, and I saw there was a gap on Wednesdays, and before I did it, I would ask on Saturdays, like, how many of you guys would actually come? Because I wanted it to be a complement to Saturdays. Like Saturday, I get an hour and a half, which is, I think, the perfect time for a class. And Wednesdays, I only get an hour because after 7, people need to get ready for work.
Gotta go.
So I was like, okay, this has to be a little bit extra. Like, let's follow up on what we do Saturdays. Let's do it on Wednesdays. And a lot of people actually said, I'll come for sure. Now, out of everyone that said would come, very few of them actually come, and then another group of people showed up. So it's still a big class for COVID times, I guess, and 6 a.m. But it's going really well. And it just keeps growing. So
It's awesome.
Pretty happy with that. If I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. to be teaching at 6, I want people to be there, right? It has to be gratifying to a certain point.
0.8 students is not enough students at 6 a.m.
No. If I went there, there was no one. I'd have to talk to Brittany. Like, we need to fix this. We can't. This can't happen. Good thing is though, you've set up that Zen planner, so I can see the night before how many people are registered. Usually, if it says 8, 7 will show up, but there's I always have an idea of how many people.
8's great. 7's good.
Yeah.
4 and below gets hard.
Yeah. Depends which 4. If it's the same 4 that came on Saturday and that were there last Wednesday, then we can have a great class because we just keep building. But if it's 4 people that never come to my class, then it's a little bit harder to.
It's definitely an issue with my intermediate and advanced classes. They're completely segmented. I have one Monday in Longmont, one Tuesday in Denver, Wednesday in Longmont, Thursday in Longmont. But every single class is a different group.
Yeah.
So I can't make any traction. I can't get any progress. I teach a class Monday. I could teach the same class all week because no one would see it twice, or maybe one person, 2 people would see it twice. So I'm like, do I keep moving with the class that like only 1 or 2 people actually see more than one of, or do I like mold it to each group, or what do I do? So I just kind of, but teacher problems.
Right. I ran a class at 5, and it just like it went super duper well.
5 a.m.
No, 5 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Right? Just like a regular all levels class, and it went so great, right? Like I was on point, and like the timing was right, and we got, the speech of the week was exactly at 58, so that we were bowing out at 59, and the next class started on the minute. It was like I was in the zone. It was a great class. And I'm like, well, okay. Rewind, and I did the exact same class, like word for word, at 6. And it would have been, I would have got away with it too. Except for the one person that was like, I want to get 2 in today. I'm staying for the next one.
That was so amazing. I got to get another one.
And then back to back, like word for word, the same class. So yeah, you get in those weird like little rhythms where you're like, okay, the class was either super good, so I'm going to do that again, or that didn't work so good and I'm going to switch it up, or that was great, but it's not going to work for this group of people that have not seen any of this technique before.
Right.
Oh man, I make all those weird decisions on the fly.
Right.
I kind of went through something like that when I started teaching Saturdays, because when I asked to start teaching, I didn't ask for comp class. I asked for
Saturday,
class,
right?
And comp class I inherited the name because that was a class that was there before. But for a while, I wasn't even thinking about the name. I was like, I wanted to teach a class on Saturdays at this particular time, and we were just training. It was similar to like an advanced class, maybe like intermediate advanced. I was just doing technique, and I wanted to make sure we got some rolling in. And then one day, maybe 2-3 months ago, I just went to school thinking, my class is called comp class. So I actually asked, how many of you guys are actually going to compete in the next tournament? That tournament got canceled, but
still
80% of people left their hands. Like, oh crap, you guys are actually coming here because this is comp class. And I'm not talking about comp specific things. So that day, my class changed. I was like, okay, like what are things that you guys need to know that you'd expect to learn or train in a comp class that might help you if you listen or absorb something. And that day my class changed completely. And then from then on, I'm always thinking about, okay, when's the next tournament and who's going to compete? What's the rule set? What do we need to work on? And those who compete really like it. I don't know about the rest of the class, but it is called comp class, and we had to make some major adjustments as to.
So the more comp focused now. So that's good.
100%.
I printed out I don't think I've told you about this. The legal submissions for Fight to Win, IBJJF, and Grappling Industries, and they're on the community board up front where you put your shoes above the shoe rack.
Okay.
Just for reference for like people, so you can like look at it and be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, because that day, for example, I was like, oh, all of you are computer, most of you are computer. Okay. And I just threw out there a comment on points. We need to know if you're competing in an IBJJF rule set. I think you need to know at every point whether you're winning or losing and fight accordingly. I'm not talking about stalling, but if there's 30 seconds left and you're winning by a point, you're not going to risk getting swept, right? Like put it on them to sweep you.
Yeah.
And then almost all of them were like, oh, I never thought about points. I'm like, that's my job. I'm comp class, right? So, and then I realized, okay, we need to start looking at points, and every class is, and Wednesday's not called comp class, but I did set it up as a kind of part 2. So whatever we do on Saturday, we're going to reinforce on Wednesday. And we're going to talk about points. We're going to talk about comp specific mindset and this and that.
Grappling Industries is interesting because at blue belt you can do a bicep slicer, calf slicer, and I believe toe hold and wrist locks for Grappling Industries. Like those are all.
Is that the big tournament that just got? That's going to happen soon. I think that is, right. That just got announced.
It's local, and there's I don't know several of them in a given year. Yeah, so there's some pretty big submission differences between Fight to Win and Grappling Industries. Tap Cancer Out says it's IBJJF based, so that one's easy. But yeah,
but
so there's some nuances that make a huge difference in how people might train or prep for a tournament.
But yes, definitely. And there's some small things, like I was rolling with someone and he or she, I think it was she was a lot smaller than me, and I'd start setting something up in my guard, my some sweep, and she'd just fall back because she was uncomfortable in my guard, and she was like, you know what, I'll be more comfortable with him in my guard, I'll work something. And I was like, sorry, but this is like you're gonna compete in a month, and you just gave me 2 points. Like, if you're uncomfortable, break my grips and run away if you want, and then pull guard. But don't give me 2 points. So that's the kind of things that I'm like, if I'm gonna get a point on you, I need to have to work for it. You have those 3 seconds that you need to scramble to get out, so I don't get those points. You need to fight to have someone not score a single point. That has to be your goal, right? If you're competing a point rule set, like if you're competing soccer, you need to score goals and not do too many fouls, right? And if you're competing IBJJF Jiu-Jitsu, you want to get the submission, but I have no idea what the percentage of submission finishes are, but I'm sure there's a big chunk of fights that are decided on points. So
absolutely, for sure.
So if you're going to be in that, at least know you need to know if you're winning and try to win on both. Win on points that should end up getting you into a better position to get a submission.
Well, and the points theoretically, I mean, it's not a perfect system by any stretch, but the points theoretically are supposed to reinforce the good positions and advancing position anyway.
Fundamental jiu-jitsu.
Fundamental jiu-jitsu. Hopefully, I mean, like I said, not a perfect system, but like you should always be looking for the pass. If you are in their guard, you should always be looking to advance from whatever position you're in to mount to the back to continue to score those points. And in that regard, I think the rule system is pretty helpful. But like you said, it is a thing to get used to, and if you're not paying attention to the points,
and it changes in submission only, right?
Absolutely,
it's huge. Each one is a different sport. And on that last point you made, I don't know if you name people here, but Jay, he just won double gold.
Yeah, you sure?
And after that, he was like, Jorge, like, just thinking about the points made me pace my movement so that, sometimes you mount and you're so excited about that you get rolled
Go for that
over,
submission right now.
right?
No.
So he actually liked the fact that he was counting those 3 seconds. I got my points, moved to the next step. So he said he was very specific about how that set a comfortable rhythm for him to keep moving forward and keep racking up the points. And I think he finished, I don't know, 3 of his 4 fights. Or
he did amazing.
Yeah.
He did a great job. One of the things I would do when running comp classes, do a 6-minute match from the feet or wherever, it really doesn't matter, and have both of them count points. And then after the match, ask them both what the score was and see if they added up, and then run back through it. And just the act of doing that will make them think about it, be more aware of it, and cognizant of whatever.
And would you
they
do
disagree?
that?
Okay, well, let's figure out. Did you miss something? Was that actually as sweet? Maybe it wasn't, or whatever.
I split my comp class into 2 teams a couple weeks ago, and had the most advanced members of those teams, right, the purple belts or whatever on each respective team, be the sideline coach. And so those coaches,
a good way to do it.
Those most advanced folks
or the referee, they're the one counting the points.
So I was reffing everything. I had the master count, right, the official rule set count, and so I would go first, not to the competitors, but to their coaches. Right, I'm all right, Mr. Purple Belt, who just watched your guy compete, what was the score? Did your fighter win or lose? Yeah, I got a lot of uhs. And then I would turn to the fighters, and the fighter was a little more forgiving because, okay, you're
in
they're busy.
Moment, right?
They have their hands
also,
full.
you're busy, and also okay, you're a white belt, and so.
And is it one match at a time? So is there a lot of pressure on them? Everyone watching, the 2 coaches,
so
you reffing.
You can do that, right?
I used to do that. The first gym
on.
I taught, I was a purple belt, and we'd do a match a day. But I taught 3 or 4 times a week, so I could. Now I don't have that much time, so doing one match at a time just takes too much time.
IPA or Saison?
What is this? Saison? No, I'll try this one. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So you did it with everyone watching kind of thing?
Yeah, so that particular class, I was really working on okay, you're gonna operate under pressure. So I found a 2-hour track on YouTube. It was just crowd noise. And I cranked it up real loud, so they were shouting to each other over crowd noise, and their teams were separated, and their respective little team leader had to be warming them up and keeping them ready for competition. And I would just randomly walk over to each group and pull somebody. Right? Okay, you have 30 seconds to prepare for your match.
Okay.
You have 30 seconds to prepare for your match, and then just keep the pressure on them, keep everything going, and okay. Yeah, you got to be paying attention. You have to be helping each other. That was the other big thing, because it is an individual sport. You're gonna get on that mat by yourself, and you're gonna do your thing and win or lose with your own hands. But you're not gonna prepare by yourself. You're not going out there to the field by yourself. So
that makes the process so much stronger if you do it as a team. The more of those pieces you can do as a team, where you're supporting each other and pushing each other past what is comfortable or what you think you can do or whatever.
There is a huge team aspect that for a long time I ignored. I was like, it's an individual sport, but people especially after they compete, they come back and they're so thankful of what you did, what he did, those roles with this person and that person. It made me perform the way I did. I was like, okay, there is a huge team aspect to that. I would finish my class a long time ago. This was purple belt time. I got recruited to coach in an MMA team that was really far from where we trained. So they basically they would outsource Jiu Jitsu from us. So my coach would send me there, and it was a nice gym, and we'd do a match of the day. And similar, I never thought about finding a soundtrack, but I would split the gym in 2. It was you guys are rooting for him. You guys are rooting for him. You have 6 or 5 minutes, depending on the belt, and you're gonna match. And I was a ref, and we're gonna film it because I want you guys to see what you're doing.
Nice.
And it was a big class. This was a big gym. This was when GSP was champion, and this was in Canada. So every time GSP would fight, on Mondays, you'd see 3 times as many people. He had a huge effect on every martial art in
Everyone
Canada.
wants to sign up
He
the
was,
next day.
yeah.
Awesome.
So whenever GSP would fight, I knew the Monday after that would be huge, and it always was. And then we'd just do this, and that was my way of trying to prepare them, which is very similar to that. It's just time. I'd rather everyone roll right now than if I take 10 minutes for that. That's
it's
I
only
just
two
don't
people.
have
Yeah,
two
for sure.
people get. Maybe when I don't know, a super fight comes up that a couple people are gonna fight, I might start doing that. But if not, we'll figure something out. I think it's working.
There's a ton of ways to crank up pressure.
Yeah,
sure.
You can do monkey in the middle. One person's in the middle, and you can pick a position. Like the last one I did was mid bullfighter, Superman, where you have a foot, hand on the hip and a hand on the knee, and you train from there to a sweep pass finish, whatever happens first, right? And as soon as there's a point or a submission, the next person jumps in. They don't slap hands, right? And they're ready.
Okay. Yeah.
They're ready. They're watching, right? And so that person on bottom gets pressure. So like within 5 minutes, even if they're going with 3 white belts, like a purple belt, brown belt, whatever, it's going to be freaking exhausting.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of positions you can pick, and there's a bunch of ways you can like break that down, and it's a ton of pressure. And you got to like coach up the white belts, talk to them about nutrition. Like you're not trying to win, you're trying to make them work. You're trying to make them work harder than they want to right now, and the next person or the person after that, and then pretty quickly it's a handful for me, for whoever.
Well, it's a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Right. Each individual tooth doesn't need to make a big cut. You just keep them cycling, and oh shit,
death by 1,000 cuts.
Things happen. Yeah.
My cousin, when he was training in Sao Paulo, Alliance competition class in Sao Paulo, you have multiple world champions
Tons
there.
of black
And
belts.
then a bunch of people who aren't world champions. There's tons of people that don't even compete but are really good.
Yeah.
Right? And he would tell me, there's not a single class where everybody doesn't tap. Like that's how hard they would work them because of drills like that, where someone's in the middle, and then you would just go and they'd group them in similar skill level maybe.
The idea is to break them.
But everyone ended up tapping just because, and you're talking world champions. Sometimes I don't tap in a class, right? And I'm like, maybe I wasn't tired. I don't know, right? But you're talking world champions tapping every time they go to the gym. That's just how it should be, right?
Yeah. It sounds so strange, right? Because I think there was a long time as I was learning jiu-jitsu, as I was coming up, like, oh yeah, those guys, they got that magical power, right? Like
They're unstoppable.
Yeah, right. Like okay, yeah, that dude just doesn't tap to anything, right? And then as I'm advancing, I'm like, oh no, of course he's tapping out. Right, of course that dude gets tapped out 7 times a day, right? Like, how else is he gonna learn the 7 defenses that he wants for that thing, right? Like, of course, yeah. Like, and then after a while, I start, okay, here's my new flex. I'm like, I've been tapped out more than this entire room combined. Like, of course I'm getting tapped out. Of course black belts are getting tapped out. Of course the very top guys are getting tapped. They're getting tapped out more than everybody
every day
because they're trying more.
Yes. It's crazy the things you don't see, I guess, right? If you're casually training, but these guys are training hard.
Yeah. So you brought up a interesting point before we got going, and I just kind of like it just strikes me over and over again as we're talking. Like, we've had very similar paths, but at the same time, like, completely opposite, right? Like, I was the cousin that stayed back to start the school, and my cousin went off and did his professional thing and had a life and whatever. And I stayed at my one school, like my day one school, the same room, all the way through my black belt.
That's awesome.
And you were saying you've had a different flag, you've had a different organization at almost every belt.
Every belt I got from a different team. Again, not something I'm like, I don't flex it. I don't care. I really think it would have been cool to get that one team the whole way. Like, whenever I see someone like that, that's pretty cool, like pretty impressive. But yeah, I got my blue belt let's see. Let's go through all the flags. Okay, blue belt. I got it from Umaitan near Megaton. My, I'm a big fan of him, but
I love and respect Megaton. I think he's an awesome fighter, but like I am going to take like personal pride in beating Team Megaton every time I can.
Okay,
Right?
that makes
So
sense.
it's like Soneka beat Megaton, so I'm gonna beat Team Megaton every chance I get.
I'll come back to that because right now there's one team that like stuck with me that I really like their style and the way they train and the fighters that come out of there. But I'll get to that in a second. And then purple belt I got at Gracie Barra in Vancouver. So Megaton in Vancouver. Purple belt was under Gracie Barra in Vancouver.
Gracie Barra.
And that's where I went to Easton and Mario, and I think there's this guy Pew Pew, and there's just
Pew Pew.
there's
You know Pew Pew?
yeah,
I trained with him in Brazil.
That was, yeah. So he went. So they were bringing all these guys to do seminars, and GB at that point was just the place to train in Vancouver.
It was the best in the world for a while. Yeah.
And then still as a purple belt, I left them because the guys I was training with the most, they were both black belts. They opened their own school, and I was closer to my house. I was like, okay, I would go train with you guys. And then I moved to Peru, and I landed at the closest school at my house. Like, there's a point where I'm like, I'm just going to train with what's most convenient to me.
Yeah.
The closest gym to my house, my brother was training there. I got him into Jiu Jitsu, and it was under Gigo. Do you guys know Gigo?
Not by that name.
So he's Herbert Santos. You know Herbert Santos?
Mm-hmm.
He got his black belt from Gigo, and he's gone around the globe, and now I think he's back to Gigo. He's a big school in Sao Paulo. And the coach there, he was an older guy, but he had a big group of students.
Luis?
I think it's Luis Gigo, yeah, from Sao Paulo. He's a big guy, right?
Yeah. Luis Guillermo.
Yes. He has a very respected school in Sao Paulo. And one of his black belts was in Lima, so I got my brown belt from him. And then everything kind of turned sideways. Like, he was the closest instructor to my house. And then he got in an argument with the owner of the gym because it wasn't his space. So then we were stuck without jiu-jitsu for a while, and I just decided I'll take a break until he finds another gym, and I'll just follow him. He took a while to find another gym, and then the owner brought someone from Brazil. And I was like, okay, if my coach hasn't found the gym yet, I'm going to go and check this place out. And they brought someone from Barbosa. Do you guys know Barbosa in Sao Paulo? And that was I think right before here, I was starting to get bored of jiu-jitsu. I was a brown belt. The structure in the school with the older instructor there wasn't too much structure. It was, once you hit blue belt, you were the star of the school. Like, everyone, it just got to everyone's head. So they'd skip warm-up, skip technique. They'd just show up and I was the only like colored belt as a brown belt, going to every warm-up, showing up on time, and then 30 minutes before it ended, a bunch of guys would show up just to roll. It was like, it didn't make too much sense. And then this guy came from Sao Paulo, and I remember I was the brown belt. Like, he was a black belt. I was the brown belt. I was the most advanced guy in the class, so he picked on me. He's like, show an armbar, please. Who's the most advanced guy? Okay, Jorge, can you show an armbar? And I showed it, and he was like, that's garbage. I was like, what? I'm pretty good at armbars. I've taught a lot of people armbars. I get a lot of armbars. I was like, no, that's garbage. And then we rolled, and he beat me up. I walked home a little bit sad that day. I was like, with my brother, we could walk to the gym. It was that close. I was like, this guy's really good, but I don't think...
Kind of a dick.
No. I just thought, I don't think I'm going to learn anything from him because I couldn't move. Like, he shut me down so bad that I didn't learn anything. Like, I couldn't hip escape anything. I couldn't, every move that I've done so far, he just completely nullified. And then I walked out just learning that he's so much better than me, but I didn't feel like, oh, I learned something really cool. So I was like, I don't think this guy, I don't think I'm going to learn much. Like, he's just going to beat me up. And then I went again and again and again. And now that's my favorite style of jiu-jitsu. These guys from Barbosa, they're just
Nice.
insane. And he lost all the students. Nobody wanted to train under him because he was like, if you're late, you're going to do 100 burpees. He just wanted respect for him. Right? I'm the instructor. I've flown from Sao Paulo. I've been doing this all my life. You're going to come to my class. You're going to come for the warm-up. You're not going to show up to spar. So all those blue belts that I'd train with just found another school because they were the king.
So I think that's respect for the training process as well.
Yeah,
I don't think that's just about the teacher. I think if
well,
you're not
his
doing
mentality,
the stuff to get ready
It
for
went from one type of bad leadership
Yes.
to another type of bad leadership.
yes, but I respect the second. I really like his way of doing things because
He insisted on the
I don't know. I see people showing up to your class
Insisted
on
on
time,
respect,
right?
right?
Like when I go to your class, nobody shows up half class unless they've told you before. There's a lot of respect at that course. I feel like,
it's important.
right? And and it's nice that people aren't just because they're a colored belt showing up at any time they want and doing whatever they want and leaving whenever they want. It's just a way of thinking that he installed in me that I like. But you have to be flexible. Like there is people that they just message me before. They're like, hey, I can go to half your class. Do you mind? No, not at all. You just let me know and come and go as life allows you to train, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe he was a little bit too much.
Maybe it could have been implemented a little bit more
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sure
Not that
the
he was a
owner
bad
wasn't
person or
too
a bad
happy
teacher or
about
whatever, but-
losing every single jiu-jitsu student except me and my brother. But then it grew back, and it grew back different.
Grew back better. Yeah.
From my way of thinking,
Yeah.
and then
I would imagine the blue belts that came back after the implementation of the new system were getting their asses kicked and went on to like, that's what discipline does. Gotcha.
well, he's the guy that got me back into jiu-jitsu. I was about to leave. I was like, I'm not enjoying it the same way. Like in Canada, it was nice, infrastructure was nice, and like,
Don't have to tell us,
you're
kid,
around.
it's nice.
It's just really, really nice jiu-jitsu here. Like places are clean. In Peru, like I don't want to sound bad, but the place wasn't the nicest gym, and I was going for the jiu-jitsu, and then the jiu-jitsu wasn't doing it for me anymore. And this guy, I was like, oh, I'm so far away.
He showed you how much more jiu-jitsu you had to learn, and you're like, hell yes.
I've thanked him a few times. Everyone's like, in many years, I'll text her like, hey man, thanks to you, I'm still training. Like, I appreciate it because I really like training.
Nice.
His name's Rafael da Silva. He's in Sao Paulo. And then, because at that gym they were rotating, after a while they just couldn't keep bringing guys from Barbosa, so they found another gym that wanted to send people. This one's a little bit less known. Game Fight. You know Game Fight?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh really? I didn't know about them before. So Bruno Malfacini comes from Game Fight. Hudson Mateos comes from Game Fight. So they sent a couple of black belts from there, and then after a few years, they brought Vinicius Amaral, who's the master, like the head coach of Game Fight, and he gave me my black belt. So so I never got a belt from Barbosa, even though I'm a huge fan of them. But every belt came from a different. It was a long story.
Yeah, but I think that long story is cool. That long story means you've got a lot of different experience and a lot of different styles and presentations of jiu-jitsu, which I think is an awesome advantage. And honestly, I wish that I had trained out in different places more.
But you can right now. So
I
that's the thing
can,
is I can't go back and get everything from one instructor. You could always say, oh, I'm going to go drop in here and I'm going to go travel and train there. So I think that you don't get back what you have. And I don't really care about how I got it. I'm happy I did it. But one example, I think I've been a black belt, I was counting yesterday before this, for about 7 years, right? I don't expect to ever again get promoted. Like I'm a no stripe black belt. And it's just the way it is because after he left there, I moved to Mexico, and then I moved to San Diego. I trained in Mexico under Renato Tavares or with those guys, and then in San Diego, I was training with the Lions guys, and now I'm training with you guys, and it's just like, okay, at least I got my black belt. But it's
I mean, if you're willing to renounce Team Megaton, then we can figure out this stripe situation.
We got to get on Seneca to come out for a seminar again soon. I think the we talked about this before we started, but I think the lesson here, the solid positive lesson, at least one of them is that you did what it took to keep training.
Yeah.
Even if you had to switch teams every belt, you kept training, you kept showing up.
Yes.
You moved, you found a new gym. You didn't give up on it. You didn't stop.
And it was never an option, to be honest. Like, first thing I did when I got an interview in Longmont, I was like, okay, is there jiu-jitsu there? It's funny, like, and my wife laughs. She's like, she's sick of jiu-jitsu. But, you know, first thing is like, would you move to Longmont for a job? I was like, I'd never heard of Longmont, I'll be honest.
No.
I'm not from the
Why would
US,
you?
so I have an excuse, right? I'm from Peru. And then, I don't know if you've ever Googled Longmont, but the first picture that comes when you Google Longmont is a big red barn with a haystack next to it. So I was like, oh, really? That's the first picture that came. I was like, okay, I don't think I'd move there. And then they're like, no, you like reconsider it. Like, it's a nice
Look
place.
at some more pictures.
Maybe you can live in Denver. Denver's an awesome city. Like, and this and that. And then, but the first thing I Googled after that was like, okay, jiu-jitsu in Longmont. And I saw Dark Horse was in Longmont, and I knew Easton was in Boulder, and I was like, okay. And then while I was still in San Diego, I was at Alliance, and one of the guys, it was Tarsus Humphreys.
Yeah.
He was there, and he's like, oh, I know Atos is gonna open soon in Denver. So I was like, okay, jiu-jitsu's growing there. Let's look at the other requirements to be able to move to a city. Everywhere I've gone, the first thing I check is your jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Or else I'd go crazy. I've seen a few of your podcasts, and you keep saying, like, if you stop training, you get depressed. And same thing happens to me. Like,
clinically, DSM-4, like, I get depressed.
I get grumpy, and nobody likes me when I'm grumpy, so I just have to train at least a couple
My
times.
life starts to fall apart, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go choke some.
Or get choked, whatever happens.
Yeah. Oh, both, hopefully.
Got it. What is it that heroin addicts say?
Chasing the dragon?
No, get well. Like,
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, if you're like
the runny nose and stuff when they're off of it.
Yeah, like
Like they gotta get well.
withdrawal symptoms are so
Awful.
so sickness inducing. You just like you feel unwell if you're not just a little bit high.
The irony.
It was like, yeah, so like I gotta go to jiu-jitsu to get well.
Yeah.
If I don't go, I'm unwell.
Yeah, when COVID happened, I actually bought a bike. I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to go to jiu-jitsu for a while. I'm going to buy a bike. And it worked the first few months, like, and then winter happened in Colorado, and that's like something I'm not used to. And then jiu-jitsu reopened. So I still have my bike. I have to go and start using it again. Cause
no, it seems like between
Good exercise.
Toronto and high altitude Peru,
I was in
you'd
Vancouver.
be very used to winter.
Vancouver doesn't have like it's
I
pretty
was in
temperate.
Vancouver, which
winters.
was the warmest weather in Canada, and then Lima is sea level. Like, it's the only capital I think in South America on the coast. So yeah, like, high altitude and cold was very new for me. Considering that before here I lived in San Diego for almost 3 years. Before that I was in Guadalajara in Mexico.
No snow to speak of there.
So yeah. And before that I was in Lima, which doesn't really have a winter. So now I went from Guadalajara was a nice buffer because they're a little bit of altitude, but then I moved back to sea level in San Diego, and yeah,
So just like defied the stereotypes in every location.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah. It's funny.
I remember when you
Warm
first
Canada,
came
low
and
altitude
you were
Peru.
talking about the altitude. I remember
Altitude
that
was
now.
tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
I went.
Yeah. People come up to altitude. They're like, "I'm going to die." No, you're not. You're not going to die. It feels like it.
I just think it's a really funny idea to think like to think of a Peruvian saying, "Oh, this altitude is killer," because the stereotype is like Peru is at the top of the mountains.
Yeah, that's true.
And
the thing is, if I was to go to the Andes in Peru, like the last 2 times I got I got altitude sickness, and I just had to stay in the hotel room sleeping with an oxygen mask all day because,
like you were saying, Lima's at sea level, and that
level.
change is so drastic that it's got to be.
Yeah,
I would
Peru, you
imagine
have the
even
coast, and then you get Andes, and then you get the jungle on the other side. So you have a bit of everything there. And I'm definitely from the coast of Peru. But on the first time I actually trained the altitude sickness, I got altitude like affected or whatever, was in Mexico City. I was training there, and I was probably a purple belt, I think. And I was training with this guy, and I slowly started turning off. I couldn't tell what was happening, but I just couldn't hold the grip anymore. And then, like, I was doing well, and then I just wasn't. And then I just kind of like went into like a fetal position, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And the guy stops training, and he looks at me. He's like, Jorge, are you okay? And then no, I'm not. This isn't normal. Like, something's wrong
just
here.
in my head. Okay.
Let's just stop. Thank you for noticing, because I couldn't tell what was going wrong. It's just. I just was shutting down.
Right? There's just no oxygen. You can't figure out why.
Yeah, those deep breaths just don't function as well.
Okay, so just because it's on my mind, and speaking of low oxygen, have you ever gone out? You've been training for almost 20 years now, so
yeah, gone out
to sleep.
Yeah, like.
Oh yeah, a few times.
Do you ever dream when you go out?
Every time. Like I can't tell that I'm. So, like it just continues,
Super
right?
weird.
So my weirdest one, it just continued.
Yeah.
Right. Like my day kept going.
Yeah.
Right. I stood up from the position.
Yeah. Class keeps going.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I got dressed. I left. I ran some errands. I made myself some food. And I was sitting there watching TV. And I'm like, how long has my leg been twitching? Oh, you know what? My leg's been twitching since I left the gym. Oh, I never left the gym. And that's about when they were waking me up. But so yeah, like have you? You say your day just keeps going.
So I've never gone that far into my day, but usually it's like the roll stops and I'm doing something, and then I have someone's face here, like, "Oh, what happened? Like you got choked out." Training, it happened 2 times that I remember. One, for some reason, the instructor back then was like, "You're gonna start rolling. Someone's going to have their hooks in on your back, and they're going to have a full locked-on rear naked choke, and you're going to have to try to get out of that." And I was lucky enough to go with my cousin. And it was like, okay, go. A second in, like, he choked me out, and he thought I had an ace under my, so he thought I was, like, pretending to get out in a second, so he wouldn't let go.
Uh-huh.
And then after a while, he's like, Jorge, because I just wasn't moving. He thought I was baiting him into something. And he lets go, and then but for me, class had gone on. I was on another roll or something like that. And then I just wake up with the coach's face, in my face. And like, oh, what happened? Like, yeah, well, he choked you out. And then another time I got choked out, I was going against someone that I thought I should be able to beat. And he got me in a tight, like, cross choke, right, from guard. But I passed his guard. So that's the point where, like, jiu-jitsu, like, this choke doesn't work from underneath mount. And it worked, right? I was just like, I passed it, I mounted, he hung up, he held to the choke, and I just started staring at him. I wasn't moving anymore. I wasn't freaking out. It just kind of, you know what it feels like? You just lose hearing. It's just like, you don't hear anything. Yeah. And then he let go really quick, because I guess he just saw that I wasn't moving. I was like, oh, you actually choked me out from bottom out. That sucks.
Damn it.
That's hilarious. Because, like, exactly that situation happened in class yesterday.
Really? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
you went out?
No, I didn't go out. A student went out. Yeah. I, like, anymore, though, anytime anybody goes out, I get behind them to wake them up.
Okay.
So they don't try to fight me when they wake up.
Since then, I think that must have been it. I started hating those chokes, like the baseball bat choke. Like, I hate getting caught by that, because they catch you when you pass their guard, right? Yeah. It happens. It gets super tight when you get second choke. Yeah. So I'm extra careful for those chokes. I just hate getting caught by stuff that shouldn't work, because I got put out a few times.
Dude, I've got put out on, like, pride stuff. Yeah, exactly, stuff like Sergio.
I'm not tapped into this.
Yeah, Professor Sergio. He's like, he's got that baseball bat choke. whatever, man. Like, no, I'm passing. Like,
They pass, I'll just posture
you're-
up after, but
right,
they're
like,
like super like.
you're not framing me away. This isn't how you stop my pass. I'm passing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. So, and then when I went to Sopa, I don't know if I should name him because he's like, I met one of the like top guys there, and my buddy was like, "Hey, do you want a picture with him?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I forgot that they told me that he's a little bit crazy. Okay, and I don't know, but not bad crazy. He's just like, so he gets me in this position where he's like, the picture is gonna be with him holding the grips for a choke, and then a few seconds later, I hear people laughing, and I wake up, and I was like with this guy who's one of my idols. And I'm apologizing because it's like, I don't know what happened, man. I just fell asleep. We were like, I was ready for the picture and I fell asleep. And then he starts laughing. I was like, oh, you choked me out. Like, I didn't realize it was so quick. He just like grabbed me. I was out. And then I woke up and apologized to him because as I thought that I had fallen asleep while we were taking the picture. I was like, that usually doesn't happen. You don't just fall asleep, right? But my brain wasn't functioning.
Pictures don't make me sleep usually,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. That one is nice. I'll show you the pictures because the guy that he's like, there's pictures of the whole way, like just and me then waking up after that. Awesome. But he added me to Facebook, so that made it right. It's like add me to Facebook.
So now that's cool. Having traveled a lot, and like going to schools where you may have trained a few times or a few times like a few months ago, and they may or may not remember you. Like, what would you tell those folks, those new people, like are getting excited, doing jiu-jitsu in their first couple years, and are traveling around for business and want to train elsewhere?
I think it's always worth just picking a school where you're going to go, knocking on the door. If you can find anything online about their drop-in policy, try to. And if not, just go in and talk to someone. And I think you need to respect whatever policy they have, right? Some places will be like, oh, cool, just come on in. Some places have drop-in fees, which we should pay if you're going somewhere else. And, like Jiu-Jitsu gym. And just go there and try to mirror the culture where you're going. If people are going really hard, go hard. But if people aren't, don't go there and try to smash everyone, right? And then if you follow that, I think you'll just make friends in every city you stop by, and you'll have good training sessions wherever you go. It's just a matter of, each gym has a different culture, so just try to adapt to it and respect it.
Huh.
And I think there's no downside to that, right? Just have a good time.
Yeah, I guess I'm downright jealous of that kind of stuff. Like, I wish I had trained more. I know, obviously, I can now, like you were saying. Yeah, it's just great experience because you get so used to, your couple training partners or
they know your game, you know their game.
Yeah,
right?
and then too, you get used to, 5 o'clock Monday. That's my time slot. That's my routine. That's my thing. And so, like, you can work yourself, even as you're advancing, you can kind of work yourself into a rut.
Yeah,
right?
I think
it's not
training
necessarily
at other
unproductive,
places will kind of give you an accurate idea of where you stand. Like, is my jiu-jitsu working outside of here or not? Or what are they doing different? Or maybe, what? I'm at the right place. You get a lot of that. So,
Yeah.
right? If you take jiu-jitsu serious wherever you are, I think what happens most of the time is you go somewhere else, unless you go to like Ato's headquarters in San Diego competition class, right? If you go there, then no matter who you are, you're probably gonna like come out humbled. But most other places in the world, you'll go like, oh, like I'm doing the right thing. This is pretty similar. Or, I'm rolling against this guy that I know won this tournament. And I'm doing pretty well. I think that's what you get most out of it. If you take jiu-jitsu, like if you really like it and you're training serious, not to be like to live off, even not to live off of it. just because you like it. I think that's the best thing, is you just reinforces that you're doing the right things.
Yeah. So what does that even look like? You're saying like, all right, you're talking about a middle path that I have not attempted and could not imagine.
Sounds to me like Professor has some homework. He needs to go to some open mats and some other gyms.
Well, no, I definitely got to do that. That's
The
for
middle
sure.
path is not wanting to like.
No,
live
the
off
middle
of
path
this,
is
or-
taking jiu-jitsu seriously, but not letting it be your whole life.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
You know what?
I went to the extreme of, okay,
I'm good
it's
with-
everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right. And then there's the folks that are pure hobbyists. They're like, all right, I show up once or twice a week, and when I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and when I'm not doing this, it is gone from my mind.
Okay, let me
Right.
try.
And so it means that,
to
like, okay, I'm
explain that.
taking it serious, but it's not everything. And
Well,
that's a
and
thing
I think
can't
that's
imagine.
a personal, like, what is taking it serious, right? I take it serious according to me. I'm sure a lot of people that take it serious according to them are like, you're a hobbyist, right? Like, there's people that train jiu-jitsu twice a day, every day. So they see me and they're like, oh, you know, that's your hobby. And it is in a certain way. I don't live off of this. I don't compete. I don't, you know, I've gone through a lot of that. But what I like to do is just try to keep competitive with, like when I was in San Diego, for example, and I went into Alliance, and it's a huge school. There was a lot of black belts, a lot of colored belts, but then you'd get guys like Tarsus. So I know I'm not going to put up a fight against him. This guy's he's I think Abu Dhabi champion and world champion. And, you know, like, it would be nice to get a couple pictures with him, but I don't even get that much, and he doesn't get that much out of rolling with me. But then you had these younger brown belts that were flying in from Brazil and trying to move to America and just become world champions and move here and live off jiu-jitsu. And then I'd be like, okay, let's try to keep up with them. That was my goal. Let's try to keep up with them and not lose by too much, because these guys were training every day, twice a day, and it was
Peak
their
shape and
life.
stuff.
Yes, exactly. And I wasn't. And then it was just feel comfortable, I guess. You know, training with them and not feeling out of my league. Like, coming out and thinking, if I would have reacted different, maybe I would have won that roll. But I did lose most of those rolls, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, it was about sweating, like I said, getting exhausted. So I'd go to these gyms, and purple belt, like black belt, puts a big target on your back, right? Again, at almost any gym, everyone wants to tap a black belt. So if I you know, wasn't like on the roll, like completely trying to win it, I would get purple belts beating me up, right? And then sometimes I'd beat them. Obviously, a world champion purple belt would probably beat me in like a hard rolling session. But it's just trying to find those people that I feel I can hang with and just staying with them. And if they're training harder than me, if I can keep it competitive and just learn jiu-jitsu and do more things and keep getting exhausted off of it, that's what I want from the sport as of now. It's weird because like you said, I don't have huge goals off of it. And that was in San Diego. Here it's changed though, because now I'm teaching. And now I see, and I didn't even realize it until a couple of weeks ago. It's like, oh, it's awesome to see the guys that are training with you to win competitions. So now I'm a little bit obsessed about jiu-jitsu, which almost to a degree I wish I wasn't, because all day I'm thinking about, what did he do? What did he do right? What did he do wrong? How do I need to address him in class? So I've gone from jiu-jitsu's for me to I'm trying to help people with jiu-jitsu. So
It's a challenge.
It's a huge mindset shift, right? Yeah. In San Diego, they had all the world champions they needed. Like, I was just another guy on the mats, and it was for me 100% self jiu-jitsu. I'd go, I'd train, I wouldn't compete, I wouldn't go train, go home. Now it's changed because of this and because I'm teaching, and it's a lot harder because there's a little bit of pressure, because I feel if you come to my class, I need to make it worth your time to come here. You're not coming here because I'm a black belt. You're coming here because you want to get better, and it's my job to help that process. And all day I'm just thinking about how do I explain this better, or like I don't think they got this concept, but I think it's important. How do I like reinforce it next time? And so but that's for me, and I think it's a very personal decision as to what you consider taking it serious, I guess.
Sure. And I think, and I ask that specifically because I think way more people fall into that category than into my category.
Yeah,
right?
so.
Where like, I'm a fiend for whatever. Like, if it wasn't jujitsu, I would be ears deep in something else.
Wrestling.
I would be, yeah, I'm a fiend by nature. Like, I'm gonna go super deep into something.
Yeah. Okay.
And so like, okay, jujitsu tickled my nerve, and that is just like, that was a thing. So that's life. But I think way more people fall into that other category where, what's it called, like a balanced life?
It's more of let's
people
put
have
it
like
as it is. It
friends
is a
and relationships and
recreational
other
thing,
things.
right? It is a hobby almost.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of big schools know that probably 90% of their students are more casual.
That's
than
what allows Dark Horse
competition.
to be a business, is those people.
Yeah, I know.
What are they called? Jobs
Right, people
and
jump in.
things.
You have kids, you have
Kids.
you know, it's
Right.
Kids programs,
Right.
important.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like what would you say to those folks? Because I think that's where I am not speaking to folks as well as I could be, but
first
also
thing
I'm
I
like,
said, the first class I taught was like, I am a data analyst outside of this, right? Like, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for longer than I can remember, but I'm not a full-time, like, my full-time job is data analysis at a tech company. And it's like, you don't need to go 100% and leave everything to enjoy jiu-jitsu. Like, you can do it and you can compete. And I know Jay works at like another tech company, and you know, I'm sure, I don't know, maybe I need to ask him, what is your goal? Do you ever expect to live off of this? Probably not. But he can still like the competition aspect of it and just the training. It's an awesome sport. Like, if you like combat, martial arts, anything at all, there's very few sports that let you go 85 to 100% intensity and not be hurt most of the time.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of people just enjoy that. And that's what I enjoy. Like, I want to be able to go and roll hard and just go home and then repeat next time. But even, again, back to my cousin, he came back from Sao Paulo. Fabio Virgel is like, I think he's even put out like an online course of how to make money off jiu-jitsu. And he is very aware that probably 90% of the financial success of the school doesn't come from his world champions, right? It comes from the mom that wants to put her kid in an activity. She needs to be able to go to a school where it doesn't smell like sweat, right? Like, you're a mom and you want to take your kid somewhere that looks nice, smells good, is clean, people are like well dressed, there's a uniform, and like, that's the kind of people that allow jiu-jitsu to grow, and allow owners to make a living. I would think.
Absolutely.
You know more than I do, but then you have your competition team, which kind of within the industry or within the jiu-jitsu world kind of has your flag out there and makes a name for you. So there's a bit of a balance.
There is some advertising that happens, some awareness, but most of the people that would be aware of it already trained somewhere. Like, they already have a school.
Yeah, honestly, I think the competition team and your competition reputation only really attracts those students that are watching competition specifically, or are already tracking what you're close to. So like, you know, when Baja was the biggest team in the world and they were winning everything, it's still the push, the resources from that, or just the fact that they had brand recognition and everybody in the world was training at Gracie Baja so that their top 1% could actually win championships.
And as they were doing that, there was people thinking the business side a lot. They put a lot of emphasis into, I think they're one of the first schools I ever heard about structuring a curriculum and like having a beginner's advanced. Like a lot of schools you go to, that doesn't exist. And I think they figured out like if we want to grow, we need to have structure and like something that allows people to grow, and something where someone goes in and knows, oh, if I do this, I'll check all the boxes, I'll get to the next level and keep growing with jiu-jitsu. Now, back to the casual, I think it's being on the other side. I'm not going to be a world champion ever, but I think it's pretty cool that for someone like a blue belt or a casual white belt or blue belt or any level, to know that they're training in this under the same like roof as a Pan Am's champion or like a local champion, someone that just won a super fight. So that does, once they get in the door, maybe that won't get you people in the door, but once they do get in the door and you see them on the mat and they're nice to you, and you know, and you're training jiu-jitsu casually, but you're next to a champion, that does build something there, I would think, right?
Well, I think a lot of it's like possibility.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm standing in the same room on the same mat, listening to the same instructor as a champ.
Yeah.
I could be a champ. That possibility is totally open to me if I'm right here with them.
Yeah.
And so I think that's cool. Just like, and I get more participation from the competition team when we have those little bit of success. Like it wasn't, well, 2020 was weird in competition anyway, but we kind of rebuilt the competition team in Denver, where we were steadily kind of trickling off. But then when people got back to competition and won a little bit, competition class the next week was way bigger, even though those folks didn't have plans to compete. Right? Like, oh wait, I want to train with, that guy or girl that just won a medal. I want to get some good hard rolls in with the folks that are doing big things.
I'll challenge them. Maybe I can beat them, right? Like if I can beat the guy that just won the tournament,
right.
That's like,
I've been going to the same classes he's been going to. Why couldn't I? Yeah. And then the next tournament's more well attended, and so I think it's I think, to your point, working really nicely to keep people engaged, but tough to bring people in from a good competition team.
Yeah, it can be also intimidating, right? You walk in your first day, so there's a fine line that you have to determine as to at what point do we introduce them with them, and then even the competitor needs to know, like, okay, these guys are new. I'm gonna go easy.
Don't smash them.
Yeah, exactly. Don't scare them.
We want them to come back.
Exactly. So
they're the ones paying for the mats and the lights and stuff.
There's a lot to it, but I enjoy it. I enjoy being around competitors. I enjoy challenging myself against competitors. One thing I tell the people that go to my class, and this is a little bit for me, as much for me as it is for them, is like, at first I was getting way too much respect. I was like, Professor Jorge's a black belt. He's going to beat me no matter what. I was like, look, forget about the belt color for me. Okay, this is my preference. I want you to come after me. Just see me as a human being with 2 legs, 2 arms, and a neck. You have the same 2 legs, 2 arms, and a neck. You could probably get me if you went really hard. And I should be able to, like, if I'm uncomfortable, I'll tap. If it hurts, I'll tap. Like, I've been doing this long enough that I know when to tap. And I want them to go hard against me so that usually when they go against a white belt, it shouldn't be as hard as going against a black belt, right? So I want them during class, forget the fact, when we're rolling, forget that I'm a white belt, a black belt, and just try to beat me, because that's kind of the mentality I think they need to go into matches.
Yeah. Well, I tell my students all the time, like, don't practice your moves to beat white belts. Practice your moves to beat black belts.
Yeah.
And there is overlap between like respect and deference, and you want the respect, but there needs to be they need to check that difference a little bit sometimes. That's true. And you know, it's like a life skill really to look at a black belt and be like, okay, I'm gonna take my shot.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll win, maybe I won't, but I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna try it. Right? The competition mindset. I say to students, like, if you're gonna go compete and just try it out, that's fine, whatever. But if you want to become a champion, if you want to compete regularly, there's a range of acceptable mindset, and like the top end is like those delusionally confident fighters that you see in boxing and whatever, MMA and all sports. Like they know they're gonna win every ounce of body energy, body language, everything they say. Like you can see it. They know they're gonna. Like there's no question. The low end is, I believe I can. Anything below that, like, don't do it. You should quit. You shouldn't be a competitor. If you can't make it to, I think I can win, I believe I can win, then you're not in it. You're not in the match. You don't believe you can win, then you're not going to win. Base.
Yeah, and I want them. And actually, I have a question for you guys. And if you have a team, and most of the people that go to I think there might be a couple color belts, but really the ones I feel I have the most influence on are green or white belts, right? How, if you're getting them ready for a tournament, do you beat them up or not?
Yes.
You do, right? You make
Right.
them uncomfortable, right?
Well,
Like,
so it's sequential. So I like to start with lots of failure, beat out the mistakes, and then build up success and success and success to reinforce the positives. So ideally starting several weeks before competition, and yeah, like in the beginning, competition class is getting beat up, just rugged the whole time, and then having more and more success and getting closer and closer, always funneling, pushing towards your favorite position, your strongest position, your favorite, your primary attacking thing. So yes, I definitely I beat them up and I leave them alone.
yes.
In sequence.
There is some individual difference. Obviously, people respond to stress and pressure differently. Like Andy, like him, just throw more and more pressure at him because like even if he breaks mentally, like he'll accept it as a challenge. He'll see it as a thing to grow, and he'll get better, and it's good for him. Other people, if you put too much pressure on them, they'll break and they'll question themselves, and their jiu-jitsu will get worse, and they'll quit. In worst case scenario, right? So there is some individual
comp class though, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're saying
difference.
I'm going to compete in a month, and I felt bad about it, but they both actually competed and did great, and they're happy, so it worked out this time. But I obviously, when I say beat up, it's not hurting; it's making them uncomfortable. Like I tell them, like part of jiu-jitsu almost is like you want to make them. And this is back Barbosa style of jiu-jitsu. Is like you want your opponent to not want to be there with you anymore. You want the shoulder pressure, the head pressure, just the everything to be uncomfortable for them. And but I've done it a few times, and then after that, I was like, did I go too far or not? I don't think I've gone too far yet, but I don't know how far.
It's hard to gauge.
You want to
push
push
a thing that's
that,
hard to gauge.
Right?
It's a thing you got to figure out over time. That's something I'm working on as well. I think I do a good job of creating a supportive atmosphere where people feel comfortable and welcome and nurtured. And there is a competition team, but I don't think I do the best job of challenging them and pushing them out of their comfort zone and making them the best they can. I think that's an area where I need to grow as a coach. And part of it is like learning by like with trial and error, maybe I went a little too far there, or maybe I'm not going far enough. But just trying.
Yeah.
Just trying to figure it out.
So you said a month, right? If it was a month out, and I think if it was a month out, I would have a specific answer, right? If you gave a specific time frame,
Yeah. Okay.
I would have a specific answer, right? Like 2 months out,
Definitely.
2 months.
beat the crap out of it.
Two month fight camp. There's a
Right? 2 month fight camp, absolutely beat the crap
there's
out of
there's a whole rhythm to
it.
it,
Yeah.
right?
1 month out, I'm thinking horse blinders. I'm thinking success. Just here's your 2 moves.
Yeah.
Here's your takedown and your finish. You're going to rep these, and nothing in the world is going to occupy your mind except these 2 things. Because in the month, that's what you're going to rep. Right? And so, like, what about this possibility? No, you have blinders on. That's not even a possibility. The fight is not going to go that way. You're going to make it go in the 2 moves that you know. So if it's a month, right, I got a specific answer. But yeah, I think that's kind of one of the fine points of competition class is figuring out that timing. Like, okay, are we far enough out that you need to suffer right now and get stronger from it? Are we so close that you need to
confidence, right?
Yeah, you need the extra confidence, and you need to like clean up your technique so that you're stepping in, really fresh. Or like you said, individuals. Some individuals, like, all right, here's the plan, and they just do it, right? There's no doubt.
It's hard to generalize.
Yeah.
I'm happy it worked because I actually got feedback. I was like, after the tournament, both of them won, and one of them came back to me and said, like, after their matches, they were like, "Oh, this is so much easier than comp class."
That's
So
what
I
you
was
want.
like, okay, that it worked out, but it could have been like, could have gone bad. It could have been, I don't even want to compete anymore, Jorge. Like, beat me up. Like, this isn't for me.
Guy's so mean.
Yeah,
What a jerk.
like, I'm not going to this class anymore.
What a
like,
jerk.
Or at an even far reach, like, I'm quitting Jiu Jitsu, which would have been really bad, right? But
Yeah.
they are at comp class, and I try to prepare them about what's coming. And I'm like, look, we're going to roll hard. And my job is to make you uncomfortable because that's what comp is about. But I'm trying to find that.
The rhythm of comp class Professor was talking about. I think about it really similar in a lot of ways. Like 2 months out, I throw them a lot of curveballs. Like, I'll turn the heater all the way up an hour before comp class, so that it's really hot for the whole thing. Like, it's as hot as I can make it. They're gonna sweat balls. One time.
Yeah.
Or I'll tell them it's a 5-minute match, and then it'll be a 12-minute match. Or I'll change the rules. Whatever. Like, I'll throw curveballs at them so they're off-footed, uncomfortable, like, and the hard training. Like, I'll make them fight 2 people instead of 1, or whatever. Like, anything I can do to make them awkward, uncomfortable, not feel right, and they just get used to being uncomfortable and just having to deal with it and fight through. Right?
Yeah.
They know pretty quickly that whatever it is, okay, Professor's going to be doing his weird shit. I just have to push through whatever it is. If he's lying to me, if you turn the heater up, like, whatever it is, right? And there's, like, in a 2-month camp, like, there's a solid month of that.
We're getting competitions every 3 weeks. So does that start at 2 months before the first one? Or, right now, I'm like,
we're talking about like an ideal situation in a perfect world.
Yeah.
The big tournament, the World Championships, is in 2 months, right? And
Anything
throughout
that
that,
happens
starting 2 months out, I'll have them all grab a partner. You're gonna do a guard pull to your best guard game and run through your favorite sweeps, right? You're gonna do that over. Guard pull to your guard, your favorite sweep. Guard pull to your guard, 2 for 2, right? Your partner does their guard pull to their guard, and then after that they do guard pull to their guard, their favorite sweep, to the next piece, right? And then to the next piece, and then you take it all the way to a submission, right? And then guard pull, and then you run through different sweeps from your best position. And then whatever, like, that kind of grows and continues. So that mind map is done for the whole 2 months.
Yeah.
Every time I run a comp class, they're into their guard, they're working on it, they're expanding it. Maybe maybe their partner, when they get to their guard game, their partner does a pass, and they have to counter the pass and get back to the guard.
So do you do different techniques or strategies per person, I guess, based on their game?
Part of it I'll push onto them. Like, you need to figure out what your guard game is. You're going to come into it, the class, I can show you how to pull, whatever, but you got to pick. You got to pick something. And professor's like a little bit like his game is a triangle. So it's not actually a guard game. It's centered around a submission. So it doesn't have to be a guard game necessarily, right? But if they pick, like, a big guy's can be like, well, I want to pass. Unless they wrestled or they're a judo black belt or something, like, all of a sudden they've doubled their workload, right? You have to be able to enforce that top position.
Yeah.
So you have to pick a guard, right? But like, whatever, they're going to be doing that guard work over and over and over again for the whole 2 months. And then the middle sections where the pieces start to come together, they've been doing the guard pull, they've been doing the sweeps, they take it all the way to submission. They've done it so many times, it just starts to move. The last week, I'll be doing, I'll introduce a lot more flow training, right? Okay. We'll do that guard pull, and then their partner maybe will throw a move in there at some point between the pull and the submission, and they
have to adapt.
They adapt to it, and they take it to a submission. But they're gonna have success. The partner isn't resisting necessarily. Okay. And so it becomes unconscious. They get into a flow state. Like, put some can be some energy, but not aggressive. Some music on, and they can just kind of have fun with it. They can just feel it, right? They don't have to think too much. They get into that flow state naturally. Like, every time they're in comp class, oh yeah, get a little flow. Oh, it's fun. It's good. So they're naturally in a good state where they can flow. They're in contact with that flow state, and they can do that naturally, normally, repeatedly. Yeah. Towards the end, last week. That's the down and dirty. Yeah. How I run a comp class in a perfect world. Right? Yeah.
Do you find you have a different voice when you do comp class?
I do. I'm a little bit. I'm not yelling, but I am a little bit. I don't know if meaner, but I'm very picky. That's what I am. Yeah. Like, I try
detail oriented.
Yes, I'm a data analyst. Like, detail is my thing, and that's what's let me get decent at jiu-jitsu without being like super athletic or stronger or anything. It's the details, the work. So, sometimes I get people that the technique's working, but they're missing like something that I emphasize a lot when I was teaching. So I will call that out and try to be as nice about it, but even that's not too nice. Like, I will call people out for stuff that they shouldn't be doing, but to be honest, I don't have to. Like the people that go to my class know that I'm very it's usually the same group of people, and if there's one person new, he just sees, oh, this works like everyone else. They just follow along. But I'm not yelling and screaming like 1 minute left or this or that, or getting super intense. I'm just very picky about the technique that we're going over, or if we've talked about some sort of sequence and I'm not seeing them do it, I will be like, hey, like, do this. This is what we've been working on, and that. But I only teach comp class, right? So it's if I'm different, then I don't have another class to compare to that I teach. But definitely different than after class or before class. Like, I'm there, you're coming here, and my job is to try to make you better, and I have to be picky about that. To try to get my point across.
I definitely I shift into drill sergeant mode in comp class. Like, I'm gonna give you an instruction once.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Loud. All right. And then like a loud, clear voice. And then everything after that is push-ups.
If they don't do it, if they don't follow the instruction,
or if I get up, huh? And my answer to huh is push the earth.
How many push-ups?
That's how they get bored.
Like the whole group or just that person?
Oh, everybody.
Group punishment?
Yeah. Who couldn't use push-ups?
You mean earth downs?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Even more powerful earth downs when you're doing them as a group.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to switch out of supportive, friendly professor into more insistent, bossy, louder professor, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I enjoy throwing them curveballs. I enjoy turning the heat up and watching them complain and be like, whoops, keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, you're complaining? Cool, let's do some sprints in between the matches.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, when you complain to your opponent, it's definitely going to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that helping you win? No. Okay, cool. Well, let's do something that will.
Right.
Let's do some earth downs.
Don't worry about it, class. We'll make this easier because the competition's gonna make it easier for you.
Yeah. They'll help you up after they tap you out. Congratulations.
I think maybe that's one of the things I like best about jiu-jitsu is that there's the standard. There's no arguing with it. There's no getting around it. There's no, you cannot, as Joey liked to say, you can't fake the funk.
Mm-mm.
Either you got the funk or you don't. You know, so it's a put up or shut up kind of thing, which is nice.
Yep.
Especially in a tournament. It's one of the most honest appraisals of where your jiu-jitsu is that you can get. That's what you could and that's what you couldn't do on that day with that person.
Yeah. Very, very honest, though I wouldn't say a complete appraisal by any stretch.
It's a snapshot of a
Definitely
human being moving through time, but
especially at first when it's just a different type of jiu-jitsu. You know, you're comfortable in your gym and you're like, you know who you're rolling with, you get a grip. People are so much stronger when in the first tournament, and then they drain out of energy. But
the adrenaline dump.
But for someone that goes into that first tournament, it's like a different experience, and that's one thing I'm trying to get feedback from those guys that competed and girls. Is what was different? Like, what can we do to prepare you a little bit better, and like, or the next person that's going to go into their first tournament and whatnot? Because I remember my first tournament. And it was not like training at all. It was just
your mind empties and you're like, what is jiu-jitsu? What armbar? Professor Coach yelled out armbar. What is an armbar? How do I do that?
15 or 16 years old, and I went, and there was no youth division. There was kids and adults. So I remember the people at the tournament, they're like, do you want to compete with them? And honestly, it was like 6 or 7-year-olds. Or do you want to compete with the adults? I was like, it'd be nicer to compete with the kids, but I won't. I'll go with the adults. And I would stare down, and these guys would like just look at me and like breathe super, just trying to intimidate me. I was a kid, right? And jiu-jitsu was just different. They would grab onto something and not let go for the 5 minutes, like a headlock or whatever. And I was trying to let go. I think it was round robin because I got a few matches. But I definitely remember one where someone grabbed a headlock or a guillotine that wasn't choking, but like, I'm not letting go the whole 5 minutes. And that doesn't happen as often in training, right? So it
basically doesn't happen in the room.
Yeah. So it's that first one is a big eye-opening experience, I think.
I think everyone that trains should compete once.
Just once.
I think
at some point.
Yeah, see what it's like. Drop a little mile marker for yourself.
If you're really serious about getting better and being the best you can, like once a year. See where you are this year.
You learn a lot competing too. Right?
Yeah.
A lot more than a regular class.
How do you deal with stress?
Yeah.
How can you get better at it? How do you deal with adversity? How do you push yourself?
Is my hand too low for my guillotine?
Your wet loaf?
Is your hand too low for your guillotine?
I heard an anti-loaf. And I was like, what is an anti-loaf?
An anti-loaf. It's like a
your aunt's meatloaf?
Auntie-loaf, you sure?
Auntie-loaf. Yeah. Word.
Got a lot to think about before tomorrow's class after this conversation. It's
Yeah,
good.
I was
It's
like,
good.
I was thinking, like, have I shared my comp class, like my notes and my classes and my organization stuff with you? Like, I don't know that I
We
have.
haven't had
And we definitely
many.
haven't talked about it.
One of the main reasons I came is to like get a chance to sit down with both of you and pick your brains a little
Yeah.
bit. I'm teaching at your school, and we
Huh.
haven't had too many opportunities.
We
to
haven't, yeah. We've
talk.
both been busy and
Yeah.
see each other in passing mostly.
Yeah. I'll try to come to more of your Monday classes, especially after that tournament. I was like, oh, these guys are really good. Like, I want to.
We got a good competitive core for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and then just consistently, both schools, over and over and over again, make like the toughest blue belts. Like I hear that from other schools at the competition. I hear that from visitors to the school, and then like when we get visiting blue belts from elsewhere, right? Like all of the Denver guys will come up afterwards. Hey, professor, all the blue belts here are way tougher than these guys that are visiting from California or New York or whatever. Blah. And I'm like, that's
Cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I heard people were talking about what are those dark horse guys doing. I wasn't at the tournament. I felt bad I couldn't go, but got really positive feedback. I was been picking the brain of all the guys that did go, and they're like, they were happy with their performance and how they were seen. They're just a force there, right? And it wasn't even that many people. You said if points would have been like, we could have got third place.
Yeah, if we had the two schools registered as one, which we should be able to do, then we would have got third place. Yeah,
that's crazy. Because how
There
many?
were
There was 4 people from Longmont. I don't know how many people.
it was like half a dozen, 6 or 7.
That's 10 people.
Yeah,
10 people. I don't know if that's a lot for a tournament here. but
Not
that's
really. No, I mean
No, not a lot.
it truly is like pound for pound, and per individual, we're coming out with more medals than most schools.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It is a really good feeling when you see a competitor from another school looking at their phone, or like back in the day, it'd be like looking at the sheet and they're like, fuck, I'm fighting a dark horse guy. You're like, yes. Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Best watch out.
Yeah. Although, like, doesn't that ironically kind of counteract the dark horse thing?
It is ironic, for sure. Yeah.
Just be the horse.
It is something. It is something you see coming.
Yeah.
What the hell?
The dark horse is favored to win.
Yeah.
Not a dark horse, just a horse. All right, now you got me thinking about it. Now I gotta be back. Back in a minute.
Is there any, or ever, I haven't seen any, but cross training between, I've seen you at Longmont a few times, but is there any like coordination as, hey, let's go this Saturday to one gym or to another?
I don't know.
There used to be,
yeah,
right?
not
I
really.
heard
Yeah, there
is it
was. And
Church
then,
of Chokes or something going on there.
and then COVID kind of goofed up. And then really, I think we should, just in a little more organized kind of way, kind of trade off or ride share or something and figure out more cross training between those two. But yeah, it's cool, even when we're not training together as much as we should. I think it's really cool at tournaments and stuff, like both teams are coming together, helping each other out, and big support from both directions, which I think is really cool, even people that are not training together on a regular basis. Yeah, ideally we'd get a little, like, I don't know, at least once a month have a coordinated one location comp class. And
yeah, because if it's once a month, then it's technically once every 2 months that you have to drive down to, like,
right.
If it's once a month here and then once a month there, then it's
Right.
really once every 2 months that you have to drive like 40 minutes to get to the other school.
Right. All right, you heard it here first, folks. The first Saturday of every month will be a rotating joint competition class at one of the Dark Horse schools. The first will be at headquarters in Longmont.
Yes, please. I'm down.
Okay, so that's
100%.
Let's look that up.
yeah, the first Saturday in June. I guess that's the 5th, though, right? That's the tournament.
That is the tournament, so we're gonna have to,
That's not okay.
Yeah.
We'll adapt.
which we'll be together. We'll be
So,
together
Is
okay.
that
on
Tap
day.
for Cancer? Or is
Yeah.
that?
Tap
Yeah,
cancer
so-
out.
I think there's 2 people.
So
at
maybe we
least.
could do maybe we do July.
Yeah.
We do July at Longmont, and then August in Denver.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Let me do. So, like, as I'm going through competition class, I really like, because really for me, when I was competing a lot, the consistency was super helpful. And one of the biggest factors was like, if I can hear my coach, then I'm golden. Right? Like
Yeah.
this is a guy that was yelling at me during practice. So if he's yelling at me now, I can pick that voice out of 1,000, and I'm like, I'm good. I got it. And so now, on the other side of that, like, I want to be there for as many matches as I can to provide that consistency, right? Like,
Yeah.
all right, here's the same stuff I was yelling at you 2 weeks ago, right back in your ear. Do you like to get in there and reinforce like live in the moment, or are you more in the like?
This is something I'm reconsidering as we speak. Like for the past month, I've been thinking: do I roll too much in comp class, and does that make me not see them?
You're not
rolling,
coaching
right?
enough.
Am I not coaching enough? But when I was a student, still a student, you're always a student. But when I was like coming up in the lower belt, I wanted to roll with the coach as much as possible. So what is more important? And I couldn't make the last competition, and it's a little bit hard for me to take a day off home, whole day to go and coach. So the one thing that I think that the team has going for them really well is that James and Brittany are always there.
Yeah.
They're always there all week, every comp class, every Wednesday. At least Brittany's there on Wednesday mornings. And I know they're there at every tournament.
Yeah.
So they get that voice from them. I don't know if it would make a difference coming from me, to be honest. I know from you, for sure. I don't know if you go to most tournaments or not. I haven't been in the loop.
I didn't go to the last one. I went to the one before that.
You were there.
I missed several. I'm recommitting myself. I'm going to try to go to as many tournaments as I can again. I definitely got burnt out for a bit. I was like tired of giving my whole Saturday.
It's a big, yeah.
Like you can only see so many high school gyms before every one of them is just a echoey fucking torture chamber.
Yeah. But I'm like, yeah. So I'm recommitted. I'm not. I have time off in the weekend, so I can just like another weekend I can take that Saturday and sleep in or whatever. But like Saturday when there's a tournament, I'm gonna try to go coach.
But yeah, I don't.
Except
So
for
when
once.
we roll, most of the time I'm not giving them live instructions because I'm rolling with someone else. Like I make it a point to try to roll every roll, but I don't know if that's for me or for them. Now that I think about it, right? Because I know people want to roll with me, and I want to roll with them, but I also need to know where people are making mistakes. So
Sure.
it's a balance. It's all a balance, and I'm working to try to get to that point where how much should I be rolling. So I'll let you know when I figure it out. As a competitor, I liked like having your coach there was a big support.
Huge lifeline.
Like
for
I
sure.
remember going to tournaments where it was just me and my dad, and even my dad would be like, "Where's your team?" Like nobody came, and at least the team goes here. But it makes a big difference having that. So even if I'm not yelling at them during training, but we both show up, and then Brittany's there, and then they just see their team there behind them, everyone wearing that Dark Horse T-shirt, which I probably should get one. it's just such a support system. I know it makes a difference. It has to.
Yep.
And if it doesn't, let me know, and then I won't worry about.
I'll let you know.
Because
When
I
come
am
to that
stressing
conclusion.
about it. I am thinking a lot about it. Like I said, I think a lot about what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, what can I do better, and what's going to make a difference for them to be happy with how they're training to compete. You go to Worlds, you have these guys singing anthems. They have their it's
a
like
big
a soccer
flag
game,
in the
right?
stands.
It makes a difference.
Yeah, I think it's huge. Like when I watch those videos, it gets me amped watching the other teams and how they like just for a sweep they'll be like, hey, things like that. Like
it's huge.
when one of our guys or girls wins and we have at least 10 people to just make a ruckus.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference in how they feel for the next match and how it makes the person that's going to compete next, how they know that they're going to have that behind their back. Like that's
The home team
huge.
advantage is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been studied.
If we do start meeting once a month, I think that's something we should focus on, is that team atmosphere and what we're going to sound like and act like as a team, and I think that the class that Professor Charles was talking about earlier, where he had us split up, helped us really think about how are we going to interact as a team when we're there. It's huge.
Yeah. We can split up Longmont versus Denver and make it real pressure.
Yeah.
During the comp class that we get together. Like,
come at me, bro.
No.
That'd be great.
Actually, it might be fun to see the professors roll.
So what's the deal with the
Oh,
comp
I
class?
would say more your team, but yeah, that too. Yeah.
So what did I miss?
First Saturday of the month, we're going to do a joint competition class, rotating locations. First one, July in Longmont.
Starting in July.
The first Saturday in July?
Just because there's a competition in June, the first Saturday. We wanted to start June, but
So first Saturday of July in Longmont, combined competition class. You're here to hear first, folks. Probably
August
not,
will
though.
be
This will be
done.
released after we announce it in class.
But that gives us, we have until July to make sure everyone knows about it.
Yeah.
Plan ahead. So that's good.
I think that's
that sounds fun.
that'd be
Yeah,
really
then
cool.
August in Denver. So like we were saying, that people only have to drive
Not even that bad.
every
What is
other
it,
month.
40 minutes more or what?
And on a Saturday morning, it'll be like
You just
a
get on
straight 40
25
minutes,
and
easy,
yeah.
no problem.
It's not that bad.
Like an hour. But anyways.
Back when I was a white belt,
Yes.
we drove an hour both ways to get to class.
Uphill in the snow. Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool if we can work that out.
I'm down.
I think we just did. Like,
Yeah.
we're the
I'm down
deciders.
for you guys to implement that thing. Sounds great.
We need an impartial ref, though. That's what we need.
Yeah. The hell out of here. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
All right. Well, I mean, having decided a thing, Jamie, where are we at?
Can we decide another thing?
We're like at 150, so
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Well-
mean, having decided a thing, should we leave on a
Decide
high
another
note?
thing?
I think so. Oh, you want another thing?
Oh, you want to decide another thing?
We'd like to end the podcast.
Oh, all right.
Let's say that's another
That
decision.
sounds like a solid decision.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you guys for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out. It was fun and a lot of
An excuse to hang out with good people.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Learned a lot, and actually, I'm really excited about competition class tomorrow too. Like, got some new fun ideas to.
I was like, maybe I'll show up and I'll
About
just coach. I'll just do the coaching, where he can train and run the class, and I can coach.
That would be awesome. Still waiting for you to come. Yeah.
Huh?
That would be, and everyone would be pretty stoked to see you there.
All right.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. It's on.
Oh.
Perfect.
Boom.
We'll know by the time this is over.
Two decisions.
Now look at that. Just making them. We are the deciders.
We are the deciders. Yeah, so we'll have to have you back at some point.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe after that competition, this upcoming one, do a little post. Yeah, do a little recap and
let's wait for that
study.
competition. Let's make sure our cross training happens and we can reconnect that. But I'd be happy to come back anytime.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Leave a comment below. Any questions for Jorge, for Professor Charles, for myself, for our very own Jamie over here? Like, subscribe, whatever the appropriate thing is for what you're getting this podcast on. Do that thing.
Share it around.
Yeah. Send dollars through the interwebs. That'd be amazing. Just dollars, just like throw the dollars at the screen. I think is how that works.
Dark Horse Patreon coming soon.
Oh yeah, Patreon. That's it. Dark Horse OnlyFans should be up and running next couple days. Yeah.
And come to competition class
tomorrow. It's on.
Yep.
First Saturday of the month. It's on at Longmont or Denver.
Yes.
And then, regardless of when you are listening to this podcast, come to class tomorrow.
Yep. Tomorrow's the right day.
Tomorrow is the day.
Today, unless you can do it today, and then you should do it today.
Yes. If you are listening to this podcast before 5 p.m., come to class today. All right.
That's it.
Thank you, Dark Horses. Break on 3.
Break on 3. 1, 2, 3.